Hi, good morning, everyone. Today is March 14th. It's Pi Day. Happy Pi Day. We have a good team here today. Let me just start off with some project management stuff. Most of my time last week was dedicated to participating in a couple different meetings with Min and Carol while they were here on a visit. And then getting ready for teaching at a data carpentry reproducible science workshop that I'm at this week. So I'll be teaching the exploratory data analysis in Jupyter notebooks this week. So I'll be back in the Bay Area next week. And that's about all I have to report this week. So it looks like the next person, let's go hit the action items from last week. We had please weigh in on the great read line debate up top.
Yeah, I'm going to try to pitch in on that later today, but it would be good if anybody else has opinions, let us know on the issue, and we can try. I think we have. I had a chance to have a good discussion with Min last week, and I'll post later on the issue. But if anybody has extra perspectives on that, please pitch in on the issue. It's one that gets a little contentious, so it's good to hear from a lot of voices.
Great. Thanks, Fernando. And the other action item from last week is write documentation as a satellite participant of the Docathon. So that was for the Docathon that occurred at BIDS and online last week. Can we check that one off? Whoever created it, is that good?
It already happened, so.
Yep, that's over. Great. And then let's see, it looks like we had action items from February that need to be checked off. Would the declarative widgets project like to be part of the new Jupyter widgets? Looks like Matthias responded yes. Pete is deferring to Gino. So I'll reach out to Gino outside of this call because he's not always online, and then we can cross that one off sometime this week. Great. So weekly news by organization, folks can get updates via these Pulse links to the Pulse updates that Carol has provided. They're super useful. You can see how many commits were made over the week, etc. And then, of course, team leads, when we get to your section, feel free to share this information with the team. Other than that, we can start with IPython, which is next on the list.
Yes, you want to pitch in on that?
Yes, my computer is half frozen, so I don't know if I achieved to unmute myself.
We can hear you.
Yes, great. Okay. So nothing much. I worked a bit on documentation. So documentation on IPython should be better now. I self-merged a few things not to bottleneck on some people. Thank you for Carol for reviewing my my usual bad English. Are not so great, at least. So Fernando already said he would look at the read line issue, so that's great. It would be one thing that would go forward. I'm working a lot on allowing asynchronous code in the REPL. I would like feedback on naming things because I'm not good at naming things, especially as a non-native English, I use weird names. And it's also close to the core of IPython, so I would really appreciate a couple of extra pairs of eyes, and the more the better, because it's some quite tricky code that might have side effects. But it works great, it's documented, there is tests, there is a tutorial on how to use it, there is integration with many event loops. If you have a favorite event loops which is not integrated, please give me feedback on the APIs so that I can know whether it's the right one or not. Already integrating with other IO library helped me to see that I had first some limitations, so now I think it should be great. And it's really nice to use if you're writing asynchronous code. Same thing from the internet and listening to that later. Please pitch in.
This is great. I don't know, do we have anyone on the team who's using it? The async.io or the other async libraries in Python extensively, because honestly I'm not, and so I'm not the best person qualified person to comment on the APIs because I'm not using those libraries myself really for anything. So if anyone on the team has kind of gotten into the async await bandwagon in Python 3, it would be great to have your feedback.
So it's a bit of a catch-22 because I found that I was not using those libraries because they were almost impossible to use at the REPL.
Yeah.
And now that it works at the REPL because of this patch, it's much, much more friendly to use. And I completely understand that only a few people would use the library we have integration with because one of these libraries is literally a week old. So yeah, I would appreciate some eyes, at least on the core things, not to make sure I don't break any semantic of IPython. Most of the behavior is opt-out by default, but should not change anything unless you're writing things that are syntax errors that became non-syntax errors. So it shouldn't affect a lot of people. And it should work automatically in just magic.
Am I the only one who lost Matthias?
No, I got a lot of static though.
Okay. All of a sudden, Matthias, you started sounding, your voice got garbled.
Okay. If I speak slower, is it better?
It was a weird electronic noise, and now it's fine.
Okay. So I said it works on the notebook on all frontends that basically work with IPython, and it should be automatic. You shouldn't have to do anything. So that's great. One other thing that I would like to have feedback on, especially from people who use Qt, is apparently there is a contention between should we set the version of all Qt API at once to version 2 or only to the one we use. It seems like setting everything to V2 would solve problems for a number of users, and not setting it so in the case of maybe someone will use two different versions of different API at the same time seems to be more a theoretical thing that someone might be doing. So we are not setting it because it might break some people code. But we are not even sure people use this kind of weird half API.
If I recall correctly, SIP actually checks that, and if you try to pass objects from different versions across DLL boundaries, then it throws a Python exception. So I don't even think it's possible to mix the API versions.
So I would be in favor of reopening the pull request that was closed or redoing it and take a stand like, okay, we are using API v2, we are not compatible with API v1, and fix an actual problem user have instead of punting on the potential problem that might introduce. And I would like other people to pitch in and say, yes, go for it. It's okay if it breaks, we can reverse that later.
Is that the 384 issue that you have linked there?
Yes, it should be. And there is one PR that was rejected, which was 10101. That was basically fixing this bug. But that was rejected because it's basically give users potentially less choice on the API they use.
Yeah, I think it comes up when you're trying to debug an existing Qt library with IPython, that you have to let the library you're debugging choose what Qt APIs are used.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, IPython can't pick and can't be strict about it. Otherwise, you're just saying IPython can't be used to work on this project.
But at the same time, not setting it to all to the same version makes some other things break. Like MyIV doesn't work.
Which is what Chris, that's because of what you were saying, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
That SIP enforces the presence of only one class, objects from one API family in the process at all.
Yeah, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, IPython can use both version 1 and version 2. The question is, do we set all API to a certain version, or do we allow blend of API? So I think that setting all the versions to the same thing is fine.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you can set it to both, you should be okay.
So I can move on this one. And yeah, and otherwise I'm going to just bump issue because there is not much more I can do. A couple of remaining issue are rat's nests for IPython 6, and probably try to do beta by end of week if I don't get a lot of feedback requests and if all my PR get reviewed and we settle on things. Otherwise, we have I released IPython genutils, which is basically 0 new features, but fixing a couple of things for downstream packages. And we participated to the Decathlon, so we have nice talks now. Thank everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, everyone who pitched in, thank you so much. And I think that the Decathlon, my impression, at least at BID, was fun and successful, and some projects made a huge amount of progress. So it'd be fun if that happens every year, or maybe every 6 months or something.
Yeah, we had some days more than 100 commits on documentation, while outside of the Decathlon it was only like 10, 15. So we almost increased by a factor of 6 contribution to docs.
Do we have our Grant or Thomas or Jason with us today?
Grant's here.
Oh, cool. Does one of you guys want to pitch in about the notebook, kind of updates on the notebook? And if you do have some updates, maybe drop a couple notes for Matthias's summary later.
Yeah, so I'll write some notes right now. The short is that we're on 5.0 beta 2, and I think we're ready to release. Matthias and I are just going to merge in one more PR, one little bug fix. I've been testing it myself. I'm not sure how many other people have been testing it, but it seems totally fine to me. So I guess I'd like to get some feedback about whether everybody's comfortable to go ahead and release 5.0.
I run from master regularly, so that if something breaks, it hits me immediately. I don't know if other people are in the same habit that I am of kind of running most of our code from master, even though it obviously does create some occasional pain, but it's a good way of being the canaries in the coal mine. And I'd encourage people within reason and whenever they can to operate in that way. Just keep a conda environment. I have a conda env that I call stable, where I don't let it see anything from Git, so that it's strictly official release packages. But my regular working environment is pure master of everything on Git. So it's a good way to see the mess early, and would be good if most of us have that as a practice, as long as it's reasonable for people.
Cool. So one question I have is, how do you keep all your different Git repos up to date? Do you have a script for doing that? Do you have to pull each one?
Yes. No. You want to use MR. If you're on a Mac, you can homebrew install MR. It's a command utility called MR, which is short for multi-repository. And you basically tell it what repos you want, and they can be anywhere on your file system. You register in a top-level config file your MR repos, and then you simply type MR update, and it will. I have like 25 repos, and I type MR update, and it will pull from all of them.
That's great.
Sweet,
Wonderful.
yeah, it's a sweet little utility that it doesn't do any of the low-level Git. It's just a top-level wrapper for pulling from a ton of repos all over your file system at the same time.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Great. So,
I've taken
the plan. Go ahead.
I've taken the opposite tack, where I'm running on the latest stable version to make sure that the master IPyWidgets and other repos that I'm working on are compatible with the latest stable version, so that we don't get any surprises when we actually release. But I'm glad people are taking both tacks.
Yeah.
How
So that's a different intersection of versions that is also super important to do. You're right, Jason.
how soon an RC, Grant? I'd like to test the 5.0 master with widgets and other stuff.
Okay, so we have beta 2 that's up right now. That's on pip or on PyPy. So you can test that, or you can test against master. I think they're actually the same right now.
How soon were you planning on cutting an RC?
I think that I think I can cut one today, and then how many days should we wait until doing an official release?
I would give the RC at least a few days. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I eyeball minimum a week probably. What do people think? And definitely advertise it on the mailing list, and we can tweet about it, and we can retweet it from the project so that people test it. I mean, it's a 0.0 release, so it's a good idea to get some eyeballs on it.
Just always release on Friday to not read your email during the weekend.
I think a week sounds good, especially for a major release of the notebook.
Yeah, I agree. A week is a safe.
I aim to do it
just
right after
just to be sure.
dev meeting next week.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'm here next week, but the week after I won't be there. I don't know if other people are away, so we need to make sure that everybody has all the rights to upload things.
Yeah.
Cool. Grant, could you ping me on the issue too, so it's on my radar?
For the release?
Yeah. If you haven't already.
Jamie?
Yep, I'm here.
Were you referring to the release?
Yeah. So what folks have been doing is creating just a brief issue for releases and pinging me, and then I've been adding those to our to a release calendar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like a catch mechanism until we can make this process more automated, but at least we're starting to keep track of everything that we have in the pipeline.
Okay, I will add that to the paper doc right now.
All right, thank you. I think Mike is up next if there's nothing else on the notebook side.
Yeah, all done.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Grant. Mike?
Sorry, I'm running into some audio issues, as I said in the chat.
You're good now.
Okay. Well, let's hope that lasts. So aside from doing some testing stuff in the notebook, which thank you, Paul and Matthias and Min, massively for that. I've been working on getting messing around with a lot of traitlet stuff and just general configuration passing around things. So one bit of that has been to at the minimum have a post-based method so that we can in the download as button inside the current notebook, the classic notebook UI, so that people could upload a config file to go along with it, just as a first step toward having something like in-browser custom output. And thanks to help from Min and Matthias, that has made progress, and Jess. And at the same time, also generating for a Jupyter app, all of the different traitlets that are available under classes that are subclasses of a particular app, that along with their type and default information. I haven't figured out exactly how to convert them into a JSON schema yet, which is what's needed for the purposes of auto-generating a UI. But yeah, so there's progress on both of those fronts. But it's all in the vein of nicer ways of handling configuration and making it easier for people to have custom output.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. Seems like next we have Pete and Min, kind of on our very. Unless Mike, you have anything else on this one, or anyone?
Fine.
Cool. It's great work, and I am looking forward to having people have simpler mechanisms for customizing and deconvert in particular, which seems to be something that we have a lot of demand for. Pete and Min, you guys want to update us?
Min, do you have anything? Or I'll read the notes I put.
Not too much. There's been some PRs updating Docker stacks and things. There's a new one that's kind of revving all the versions, but not a lot too exciting there. I was planning to add JupyterLab to the Docker stacks, but I'm going to do it right after merging this PR that updates everything, and then JupyterLab should be in the Docker stacks by the end of the week probably.
Cool.
Which should make it easy to deploy JupyterLab with Jupyter Hub and stuff.
Which version of JupyterLab?
Stable.
So, okay, 0.17.4, I guess.
Yeah, whatever is. It'll probably be pinned to 0.17.x. So, yeah.
Are you going to enable it by default? There is a recipe there on the wiki for Docker stacks about how users could do it themselves in a child Docker file, but or are you just going to put the package in and then tell users, here's how you switch to it?
I was thinking of putting the package in and enabling it, but not making it the default landing. So like the extension is available and enabled so that JupyterLab is there, but not change the default entry point.
Okay.
I'm seeing that being done. For example, at NERSC, one of the deployments is already up and running that way. And what the team there is doing is basically telling sort of their most advanced users know about it, and so that they can use it and test it. But otherwise, users have no idea it's even present because it's not the default landing page, and there's nothing in the UI that would point them in that direction. But it lets them test it with a few kind of friends and family who are willing to do that kind of testing.
Yeah, that's how we've got it running here. On our Jupyter Hub instances, we have it installed and enabled, and we just tell people go to /lab, and that's our pilot program. So
exactly. We're doing the same thing here at NERSC.
Hey man, are you planning on installing any set of extensions like the widgets or the GeoJSON or some of the other extensions that are out there?
So I can put in whatever. I was just going to do JupyterLab itself, but if there's something you want in there, you can just add it.
Okay. Widgets is almost compatible with 0.17. I think that would make sense to put in just as a general thing for notebooks and stuff. And Grant could talk, I guess, to the other cookie cutter recipes if they're compatible with 0.17.
Okay.
What does almost mean?
What does almost mean?
Yeah.
The PR is about ready to be merged, and then we'll cut a release.
Cool. All right. Great.
And IPyWidgets 6, I think, is in the giant version, but the images had IPyWidgets 5X for a long time, enabled against classic notebooks. So that's not anything majorly new there.
Great. And then on the dashboard side, it looks like no updates today. So next is JupyterLab with Steve, Darian, and Chris.
Okay. Well, Darian last week did the work of allowing the full layout to refresh if you refresh the page. So that's a key step toward being able to save an application state and rehydrate. So you have all the same widgets that you had open, all the same files and the same orientation. So that work is done. There's one more bug fix we need to add to make it so that if there's missing data, it'll still do the right thing and look correct, not have holes in the page. That's almost done. We're also continuing the work we started last week to split the repository into multiple packages to make them easier to consume for both third-party use and for writing extensions. It's turned out to be a lot trickier than we thought. We've gone through some iterations of splitting out the packages in ways that make sense to be separately releasable packages. But we're just about there. Hope to have that done. Say again?
Were you finding circular dependencies?
No, the issue was just a different way of looking at it when it was just a pile of folders versus what are the actual separately consumable packages from here. So just a restructure, mostly.
This is on the just for my own claim. This is on the NPM side, right? Or is it on the Python side?
There will continue to be one Python package called JupyterLab, but the versions will be severed, so it'll be independently versioned NPM packages that are associated with it. Then our extension was based on Webpack 1.0. The 2.0 landed a few months ago, the final release, and which includes support for EmcaScript 6. So went through the work of updating our extension builder and a Webpack plugin to be compatible with 2.0. We're looking toward the future on that one. And Chris is working on single document mode for the doc panel, so you can switch to what some might know as a Zen mode in Sublime, where you're only viewing one document that has no tabs, and you can switch between documents that are visible. So instead of having the full doc layout available to you. That's it.
Chris, thanks so much, because I think that's something that has been brought up multiple times by users as one aspect of the new UI, which for advanced users or on the large screen is very nice, but for users who kind of were used to the simplicity of I start my notebook, and there's nothing else to think about, especially with beginners and an educational context. It was kind of a sticking point that was coming up over and over. So I wasn't necessarily expecting that we would get to this early, but it makes me very happy to hear that you were able to. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's more or less low-hanging fruit. So I figure I'd take care of it now rather than later.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Yeah, it wasn't something to bend over backwards, I think, if it proved to be too hard. But if you could do it, it will be something that a lot of users, especially in certain contexts, will greatly value and appreciate.
One thing I want to bring up is we might consider our demo scripts and just the messaging around this when we do have it in JupyterLab. I remember back when the very first demo of JupyterLab was done at SciPy, reading the comments on Hacker News about it, and there were multiple comments with people who seemed to just I don't really want to characterize what the intent was, but it really came from this dislike of an IDE-like interface, and just it's too busy or whatever. So I don't necessarily think that that's a realistic complaint, because you open up one document at a time. It only gets busy if you've been making it busy. Nonetheless, I think if we demo a version that looks a lot closer to the classic notebook and then transform it to the version that's a full-on multi-tab interface and multiple tab panels and all that other stuff, it might be a really nice demo to start from the simplest and work your way up to the most complex. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that.
That's a good observation. I've been demoing quite a bit, and I do a little bit of what you're saying, but I think at least thinking back to all the demos that I've given in the last few months, because I've given a lot of talks, I think I could have probably done a much better job of what you just said, and I think it's a wise observation, because we tend to get a little bit caught up in sort of the short juggling exercise of like, look at all the things it can do and this and that, and I can move them over here, and it's very dazzling, but it can be a little bit overwhelming, and you're absolutely correct in that it can trigger a bit of a negative reaction of, I don't need all those bells and whistles, I just want to get my work done. Why are you messing with it? So I typically emphasize very strongly the point that people are not losing anything regarding their files, that the documents on disk are not changing, but I probably don't emphasize enough that they don't have to lose their workflow patterns if they don't want to. That all of these things are things that are new because in some cases they're needed, but that if they're perfectly happy with the way things are, we will respect that. And I think it's a very, very wise point to keep in mind, especially as we start going public, kind of as we demo it and show it more and more, either formally in presentations or just with colleagues and people kind of who sit next to you at a computer.
Yeah, I've definitely seen in a number of places, since we use Jupyter Notebook to refer to both the documents and the application. I think it's not clear to a lot of people that we're upgrading the application, but not the documents.
Yeah, I try to make that point fairly clearly. That's why I make an effort, because I think it's really important to assuage that fear.
Yeah, I don't know if there's something, if there's a documentation or a messaging thing to work on there, but it's definitely something I've seen.
I think Darian's message is spot on, and with this new mode, when Chris lands it, I think what we can do is just make sure that we enter through there and spend a little bit of time kind of clarifying to people, look, this is going to give you the same experience you had before. Don't worry about it. We're really only genuinely trying to make things better for everyone, not to rip out the things that were comfortable and valuable to you. Anything else? Anything else on lab, guys?
I guess I have one thing that's a little JupyterLab related. I've been getting help from people who've been helpful, which is nice today. I'm working on seeing what building something like Phoebe on JupyterLab would look like, because some OpenDriveKit folks have docs hooked up to Phoebe that don't work anymore because Phoebe doesn't really work anymore. And so I'm investigating.
Do you know the story? Do you know what the story behind Phoebe right now is? Like, is it just not being developed anymore?
I think maybe O'Reilly's just assigned people to other things. I'm not sure. But part of it is that moving forward, Phoebe wants. So Phoebe has had the copy of all the JavaScript out of the old notebook because it's not a proper JavaScript package, so it can't express dependencies or anything on it. And so I think the plan to move Phoebe forward was to wait until something like JupyterLab or Interact or something was ready to build on top of, to make it a more sustainable, smaller project of its own.
Just had a thought, Min. This will probably look a lot like the notebook standalone example in the JupyterLab repo, and probably could live alongside it as a standalone cell example. That'd be great.
Yeah, that's my plan, is to make a single cell page kind of example once I figured out what I'm doing. But I'm also taking this opportunity to learn about JupyterLab APIs, so I'm flailing a bit more than I have to, because I'm sure one of you could write it faster, but I'm learning.
And just be aware that the JupyterLab APIs are under complete restructure right now this week.
I know. That's fine.
Yep. Welcome to the train that keeps on plugging through.
That's alpha mode, baby.
That's right. That's right.
Great, thanks. Jason, did you want to say a few more words about the widgets, or Sylvan?
I'll just mention that we're also on this alpha train. We've upgraded to the newest Phosphor almost, and we've had some contributions from Martin Brittles for making it easier to sync binary data like NumPy arrays, etc., and widgets. And if anybody's interested, Min, you might be interested in looking at how we're doing the syncing of the binary data.
Hey, Jason, is that coming from IPyVolume?
It's coming from the author of IPyVolume. I'm not sure if his need is IPyVolume, or I mean, it certainly could be useful, I think, in IPyVolume where you're trying to transfer numeric data, but we've had a need for this for a long time too. BQplot has its own NumPy syncing traitlet, etc., but they all base 64 encode things. And what Martin did is basically make it easy to strip out binary buffers and put them in a binary WebSocket message and then patch them back in on the other side.
So the thing is, the goal is to use trait types. So other package that we extracted from BQplot and add 2 JSON from JSON serialization routines in there that support the binary messages. Currently in IPyVolume, it seems that he has 3 modes. One is pure JSON, the second one is base64, and the last one is a fast one that requires the PR and IPyWidgets that he just opened.
Got it. Yeah, I'm looking at the I'm looking at the animations on the IPyVolume docs, and it's very cool. And I know that he was I had seen that he was using the binary transfer in some posts a few days ago. So that's why I was asking. Great.
Cool. All right, next up, Min and Carol, Jupyter Hub updates. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, just losing track of my tabs.
I'm here.
Go ahead, Carol, if you want to start.
Yeah, it was just a great week last week. A lot of good things were done. Special thank you to Matthias for all his energy on the Docathon. It was great to see lots of projects move forward, so that's awesome. And Yuvi and Ryan gave us a really nice demo of Kubernetes being used with Data 8, and we're going to try and push forward and try and get some generic docs written so that once they get it all buttoned up, we'll be able to move it over to Jupyter Hub.
Yeah, we really should have, as soon as Yuvi and Ryan are happy with it, that the dust has settled on that, we should advertise that more prominently. I suspect a lot of people are going to find that super useful in many places. It was clean, it was elegant, it was really nice to see that in action.
All right, Grant, did you have something you wanted to share there, or did we just pick up some background noise? I'm going to guess background noise. All right, so next here we have conferences and outreach. Let me just go through the list. Carol's added Codeland is a new conference that's coming up in April 21st, 22nd. Carol and Safia will be serving on a panel for open source. So there's the link there. And then we've already announced that today's the last day to submit proposals to JupyterCon. So I don't know, it's probably midnight tonight is the deadline. So if you haven't done it yet, see if you can whip up something good in the next few hours. I am also losing track of my tabs. Let's see here. SciPy CFP is still open. Tutorial deadline is the 22nd of March. Talks and posters is the 27th. PyData Amsterdam, 8th to 9th of April. CFP is closed, and then PyData London is coming up. And I do like to just kind of show folks what that looks like really quickly. So let me
I just added one that I saw go by on the Open Dreamkit mailing list in Paris in June. So at least Sylvan, the CFP is open if you wanna maybe submit something. And I don't know if Matthias might be around Paris at the time or others in our European group. But June 12 and 13, it's going to be in Paris. I put the link there. Hi, Paris.
All right. Go ahead. Nope. And last week in the meeting, I shared our GitHub projects event schedule, and I'm sharing my screen right now to show where I'm adding these events. Some are issues, others are just notes here in the calendar. But we can always, everyone can go here and see what's going on for the next year or so. And I've also asked team members to add themselves to the issues once they're created, so we know generally who's going to these events. So we'll get that new one added, the Paris conference added shortly.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we've got, before I move into action items, does anybody have anything they'd like to share? Anything additional for this week?
We might be starting a PyData meetup in Paris soon, maybe with an event in the end of April.
Oh, cool. Can you add that to the calendar once you solidify the plans?
Yeah, I don't have a sure date for now, so it's probably going to be either the 18th or 19th of April, the first one.
Oh, on my birthday. Okay, great. Do you mind adding a placeholder on that calendar, just so it says like
sure.
mid-April?
Yeah.
And then do that. Just you can click on the plus sign to create a note, and then follow the format that you see in all the other cards. All right, cool. Thanks, Sylvan.
On it.
Thanks. Great. So let's look at Fernando. Anything else you want to cover this week with the team?
No, just to remind people, please, we have a few more hours in the day for anyone to submit. So if you have a colleague who's on the fence, if you want to tweet about it, if you have any network that you can reach once more, the more proposals we get, the better. And I know that there are a few people who have shared drafts of proposals with me that I'm giving feedback on. So I'll get on that right away.
I realize that this is goofy, but is the 1400 minimum pixel headshot image actually a requirement? Because I'm looking through all of my headshots that I've had since college, and I'm not seeing it.
You'll have to ask Audra. You can probably upload anything now, and it can be updated later.
Okay, that's what I was hoping.
Yep, yeah, that's what we've been telling people. Just upload.
Yeah, sure, it can be updated later. It's a website.
And do we need a headshot for every person that would be on the speakers list?
I do not know that. If you have them, I would put them. If not, put one at least for the main presenter or for one person. And again, it's a website. I'm sure we can update it later.
Yeah, that's reasonable. It's just the fact that it said required off of the side and other things didn't say required made me wonder. That's all.
Yeah. You could submit a collage of all the presenters. Okay.
Together, it'll be 1400 pixels.
Exactly. All right. Anything else? I'm going to move into action items if that's all the reports and updates we have. And I keep switching between tabs today, so bear with me. So action items for this week are submit your talk proposals. Matthias is looking for feedback on his async REPL implementation. Matthias is also looking for thoughts on what Qt API versions IPython should support. There's a link there that will take you to the issue where you can comment. And thank you for seem to have settled on set all versions and see how that goes. And then Grant is looking for people to test Notebook 5.0.0 B2. So please help Grant out with that. Releases for this week: IPython GenUtil 0.2.0, PyPy Conaforge 0 new features. Unless you're packaging it yourself for another platform, you probably do not need to worry about it. Let's see, Min put in Docker Spawner 0.7 update to handle changes in Docker, improve handling of Docker networks. We've got Jupyter Lab 0.18 or 18.18 coming out soon. Steve, could you add a card to the release board or send me the issue? And then Grant got his Notebook 5.0.0 RC release candidate. So that's this week. Releases that are coming up with no timeline attached or date attached is IPython 6.0b, Notebook 5.0.0, and IPyWidgets 6.1 or 7.0, depending on backwards compatibility issues. Great, so that about wraps it up for this week. Here, I'll turn my video on so I can say goodbye. Thanks, everyone. Looking forward to seeing you next week. And yeah, have a great week. Happy Pi Day.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Happy Pi Day.